to have the discipline to actually push to something that turned into an exit by selling the company on so that you can move on to something else, was at the same time there was something that wasn't really aligned when it comes to passion?
Yeah, I think it's all about the passion at the end of the day. Like if you don't really feel the product and don't feel the mission and don't have the passion for like 100, I don't know, maybe even more, 120%, then you will never keep yourself motivated. You will never have this feeling like waking up like, okay, maybe today will be busy, maybe I will work hard, but at the end of the day, there is a word, I know why I'm doing this, I love doing it. You know what I mean? Like you have to love doing it. You have to be all in for that. And in Elite Card, that was somewhere missing. Obviously, on the very beginning, we had this power, we have this motivation. We were working super hard, those three of us. All of us were a different kind of responsibility and field doing it. And we were happy seeing it growing and being profitable and so on. But then at some point, like when we decided both of us move abroad and like kind of develop the career, which was like the daily career, nobody of us wanted to like really focus and take this step to quit the job, which I think from the timer's perspective was basically the motivated by the lack of passion at the end of the day.
Yeah,
it is. But in there's a passion, like I think in terms of motivation in general, I mean, everyone have to find that in ourselves, and that's not, there is no golden rule for it. People, we are all different. Everyone have a different motivation. Some people are doing startup because they want to get wealthy. Some people are doing startup because they love building stuff from scratch and seeing them, being up and running. Some people are have different kind of motivation. Like for me, it's the impact that we can do for the Hashimoto patients, because I have seen them for 9 years, having a lot of personal tragedy, being this, like, as you say, forums, community, and so on. I saw people losing job 2, 3 times. I saw women going through very painful divorces. Some people were very lonely. I just wanted to help because I felt like, okay, if I know how to help myself, I felt like I was privileged because when I was diagnosed, I was in London, I was working as a contractor. I had both the resources, the time and the capital to work on myself, to figure out what's working for my body, to fix myself, as I tend to say. So I wanted to make it available for other people who, didn't have this kind of good situation, that they can not working for 8 months just to focusing on their health, let's say, right? People have jobs, people have mortgages to pay, people have kids. I actually don't have it. So, you know what I mean? Like for me, it was a little bit easier to do it. So I want to make it like pay back to the community of Hashimoto patients and kind of help them. But yeah, everyone has a different motivation. You have to find your motivation in yourself to run this product. If you don't have this motivation, if you kind of like have a doubt, maybe that's not this idea, right? Maybe that's not the topic you want to develop. But also be aware that even if you are 100% all in, there's also a moment when I'm waking up and I have a doubt, like, is it good I'm doing it? Is it good? Maybe I shouldn't. Like, you have to be prepared that kind of like running a startup is like emotional roller coaster. As it's like you have a lot of this downs moment, you have the up moment and down, and it's like it's never ending story. But if you feel deeply in your heart that this is it and you have to doing it, you should go by your head, follow it, and just doing it. Because it's not always about the award. Especially in the very beginning, when you're funded, there's no awards. There's only like 100 hours a week of working.
Yes, exactly.
You have some sparkling moment, and nice. You can be a guest in a very nice podcast, right? But on the daily basis, that's a lot of tough work.
There's a lot of grind that people don't see, and I'm actually glad you really went into this and really opened. You're really open about this idea of motivation and what it meant for you and the transition to Ashiona, because one of the final questions I wanted to talk about was especially for women that are thinking, should I get into this idea of entrepreneurship. Should I, I'm a generalist. That was the value in that, in a world where when you look at technology, they're always asking for engineers. We want engineers here and there, and they don't really call out for the other skill sets that we both know that are still needed, especially as a generalist, the ability to just jump in, very high level view, to jump into a company and help them to move forward is something that, again, won't make the splash in the newspapers in terms of skills needed, but it is still very needed. And I feel like, this is a really strong message for women out there that wants to either get into a career in tech, because I believe that, yes, there's these challenges, yes, there's a learning curve. That will happen anywhere, it's not just in tech, but the passion and the motivation, as Eva, you've nicely put it. And again, we can feel that through your journey will be something that will really get you there. So I really wanted to highlight that point. And again, say thank you for being such a wonderful guest to help us kick out very strongly the International Women's Month. Question is, how the hell do you prioritize when everything is really important to you? Elif, that one, I think that would be really good for you to take that first.
Sure. I will answer it in the most lawyer way possible. Depends. So it really depends on what you're building, depends on the environment that you're in, depends on also the economic conditions, the country that you're in, the time of your build, the deadline that you have in mind. You have to really consider everything. So this is also coming back to why we work the way we work, like 360 degrees, holistic. Always look at the full picture, not just one small part of it, because that will be a costly lesson if you don't. And when you look at the prioritization, I think it's really important to differentiate that the regulated products, the regulated digital products are a bit harder to build than unregulated digital products, because unregulated digital products can be built within overnight, an MVP, because it's a testing product, right? Which means it is addressing a closed community. So you won't be doing a PR campaign. You won't be announcing it online. You would just be like inviting a handful of users that you think are relevant and hopefully are tested before. And you would just ask for their opinion. And depending on the product, if it's like an unregulated product, like I don't know, like an e-commerce product or another tech product, you can build it overnight, in a week, in a month or so. And it could be very simple. And you can then really focus on the functions that make you different. So if you're launching a product that has never existed before, you can actually just build this thing that is showing what you're building. So basically the MVP has to give the understanding of what you're building, right? And this has to be relevant. But if you're building something that is already existing, that is already out there, so if you're building like the 98th neobank in the UK, right? Then you cannot just launch the MVP the way it is. You have to also, the MVP has to reveal the features that differentiate you, because it really show what differentiates you. Is it your fee structure? Is it your UX, which is not necessarily a USP, but let's say it is, or anything else that has to be included in the MVP. So this, of course, impacts the prioritization of the MVP roadmap. And also one last thing to add is that an MVP is not like one step thing. You can build multiple MVPs, and successful products actually have this MVP 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, until they can reach a point where they are comfortable with having like a bigger user base. And then, you go to the launch. So you don't have to worry about, oh, if I miss this, then, users will misjudge me. You can always improve and differentiate it in the next round or the next role.
Yeah, and I don't.
We need to change the nature of movies about entrepreneurship that we see on Netflix, because they don't tell you about saving up to take an entire family, 5 kids to Australia to attend a conference to validate the market for your product, right?
Exactly that. I know. I didn't know how to do it. And I even wonderfully spoke to the children's head teacher and said, I need to take them out of school. I'm really sorry. I know this is terrible. But I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this journey. And can you help me? She just went, oh. So it's other women were very important in my journey. And other women saying, yeah, you can do it. Yeah, that's too quick. Yeah, it's horrible with it, and just making you feel at home. I think making you feel at home instead of the person that instead of feeling like an outsider in doing something entrepreneurial, which is what I felt a bit at the beginning. I felt like maybe I didn't belong, and so I needed to see other people doing it.
Can you expand a bit on that? Because I think that's really something that I see I see a lot, especially when we have those entrepreneurship days, or some people don't see themselves as entrepreneurs, or they don't see themselves as a business person until they've reached a certain milestone, and that actually plays with their mindsets and their own beliefs and their abilities throughout going through the journey. So how did you navigate through that? From obviously the beginning where you felt like I don't belong, to getting to the point where you are now, where you obviously sound like you've been through so many things that you feel like you are part of the community.
I think that's a really, really lovely question, I think, because no one has really asked me much about that before. But when I saw something that said, even before I met you, I think, Nelly, where there was a day on and it said for clinical entrepreneurs, and I looked at what was on offer, the talks, and I thought, oh, I really need to know about that and that and that. But I wish I was a clinical entrepreneur. I wish I was an entrepreneur. That would be good, because then I could go. And so I absolutely did not see myself as that. And the language, I think, is important, isn't it? And it was another person that said to me, oh, I didn't see your name on the list. And it was as an email. And if they hadn't have done, I don't think I'd have ever even considered myself as being in that world. So it was someone said, I didn't see your name on the list. And I nearly fell off my chair that it was that someone considered me like it was all right to go. And I signed up. I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. And then that's I do remember that, because I want to pay that forward. That kind of, hey, this is you. This can be you. Why isn't it you? Of course it can be you. Why not? And people, I think some women say, well, I'm an intrapreneur. I'm changing processes within my organization. That's equally as valuable. You are equally as valuable. Social entrepreneurs. I think maybe we need to find the right, and it's, for me, it was important. Like, men have been incredibly important in my journey too, but for me, it was really important to see, to speak to other women who were doing it. And I think that there's probably a million different reasons for that. But I needed people to say to me, it can be you. Of course it can be you. And it took me a long time maybe to get to that. And you're right. It is nice to feel comfortable in that environment. And then it becomes really important to me to say to other people, of course this could be you.